So on the agenda for tonight, what I have is just getting some direction on, so clarifying the project that we want to do. And then if we want to, we can kick around a positioning statement, but we also need to identify what segment we're going to market to. And I think with that information, that gives everybody direction on where to go with how to write their portions of the project to paper. It sounds like the consensus is solar products. Are you guys in agreement with that? And then I wrote mine to mine was written to a residential segment.
Is it the only three of us?
Yeah, just the three of us. I haven't heard from Stephen or Tanner.
Okay.
But Jesus, I know that he's not going to be able to make it.
It's working.
Yeah. He asked if I would record it and then post it. So that's what we'll do for Stephen and Tanner too. So do you guys want to go residential or commercial?
Now,
I was thinking residential. Well, but it's whatever everybody. In my mind, I've been thinking residential for some reason.
In my case, evaluating the market, evaluating the culture and the people and how they live, I would say the residential is going to be better.
Okay.
It is the area where you have more income, or I would say more revenue to get. If you remember, India is one of the fastest growing middle class in the world.
Yes.
So probably we could attack that particular market. And I think that those are residential so far.
So the middle class residential is what you're suggesting. And I feel good about that. What's your thoughts, Laban? Are you okay with that too?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I think what I was reading, the middle class, I thought I read an article about that, and I think we should market the middle class and the rural, the lower.
Yeah. Have you ever watched videos about Germany? Because Germany is one of the examples for solar panel. They conquered particularly middle class, and they put it in the roof. And many people are starting, to buy those panels because they find it like cheaper than normal electricity. But also I watched a video where they focused on, how do you call, Lurvin, I think that you know that in Spanish, ONGs, how do you say that in English?
What was the word again?
ONGs. In English is like non-profit organizations.
Oh, non-GMO, non-government organizations.
Yeah.
Oh, NGO. So those are international organizations, that non-profit organizations that are outside.
Yeah. So they started attacking the poor people, working together with those organizations. Because those areas, that segmentation is very difficult to attack because they don't know about technology, they don't find a value, they don't even have electricity. So I think that if we can create like positioning statement for poor people working together with organizations that are already strong in those areas, I think that it can work. If our vision is to help India have electricity no matter where you are.
That was my idea, that to do something like that, to try to benefit, that everybody could benefit from it, not just a certain class.
Yeah, but
every-
yeah, but I'm sorry about that. But I also was thinking that, okay, let's say that you are the new entrepreneur and you are in India.
Mhm.
So I think that, okay, let's say that you are in India right now. Who are you gonna attack first? So that's something that we need to think about because it takes costs. And I mean, it has many things involved. So I think that if we're gonna start selling solar panels, we need to focus first in one segmentation. Then if we think that that's gonna be successful, we can start going to different areas.
Okay.
For example, we can
But
start in Delhi, let's say New Delhi. But New Delhi, who? Are we gonna attack the poor people in New Delhi, the middle class in New Delhi? And if that's successful, okay, let's go for the rural areas.
okay, so then what I was thinking to market, you know, yes, you're right. To market certain and a specific, and if we'll do an specific people, we're gonna have to do middle class, because the upper class they already have it and they
Exactly.
can afford it, and some middle class, high middle class. So then if we go middle class, and then with help with nonprofit organizations, or I think I was reading some programs that the government has, you know, we could actually do some to the rural or lower class, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, to get like contracts or uh there is a moment, I forget the words.
Subsidies?
Biden, it's a Biden, like with the government.
Partnerships.
Yeah, it's like a contract that you win the contract and the government says, okay, you're gonna
Oh,
provide us with,
bids. Okay.
okay,
Like,
bids, yeah.
yeah.
Bidding, or I don't know. Yeah,
Does that
bids.
make does that make sense, Jason? Are we making sense?
Well, keep in mind the parameters of the assignment. So I think we're attacking this from a very
Okay.
charitable cause, but the purpose of the assignment is to have a profit margin for the company, and we have to define pricing strategies and all these other things that are associated with that to
Yeah,
make sure that's going to be a profitable
correct.
venture. And so because
Yeah,
of those
that's why I was
reasons,
mentioning that.
mhm. And so I think for the sake of the assignment, as well as trying to identify the things that we need to for pricing strategies, for positioning statements, for segmentation, I think just like Nephi was saying, deciding at least on one aspect, and then if this was a real proposition, we'd obviously start out with one customer segment, and we'd start with one product, and then we'd build on from there. And so I think that's how we should approach it, is using a minimal product. And I
I
think
agree with
everybody's
that.
consensus was doing either a smaller line or at least a minimal product to test the market first. And then
Mhm.
in real life, if there was issues with that, as we receive feedback, we could do iterations and change things. We could pivot on our product, pivot on our positioning, pivot on the segmentation. And as we test our assumptions and our hypothesis, as we get feedback from the consumers and from the market. But for the sake of the assignment, I think that starting with the middle class, because the middle class has disposable income, they also still have a
Mhm.
need. And so I think it's going to make it a little bit easier to identify some of these things as we work through it.
Yeah, they are very well educated, so they might know a little bit about that. So if we're thinking about marketing, I think that we're gonna invest less in marketing because we just need to put it in advertisements and they will feel attracted. If you remember in the last week reading, we learned that they are people more like innovators and they go and look for those things.
Exactly, yes.
So I think that the solar panel is, Mhm.
What are your thoughts, Lurben?
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I like your reasoning.
And
Um,
I have another
and that's
class,
better. No, we can just have,
and I like where you guys are going with this. One of my other classes, we have to do a social entrepreneur project, which is more of a nonprofit or a charitable organization. And
Mhm.
the direction that you guys started talking about, I think that would be an excellent idea for that type of a endeavor. But for this
Good
class, we got to get back to, we're trying to make our company identify a profit margin. We're trying to identify that it's a viable venture that's going to make our company money. So don't lose
Yeah, actually,
track of
I
that.
think
We got to
that
keep that in perspective.
yeah, I think that there was a misunderstanding. I found the correct word because you can make profits. I think that is tenders with tenders.
Okay.
I don't know, but here in El Salvador, you can make a contract with the government, and the
Okay.
government says, okay, we will make, is that correct to say tenders? Like contracts? Like where the government asks you to be the provider for certain things in a certain period of time, but you need to go for, you need to, okay, you have many companies, and that company, for example, let's say that you are the company, and you put a form to the government because you want to be elected to be
a
part of the
proposal,
project.
right?
No, but what is the name of that attachment? What is the name of that contract that you do with the government or any other organizations? Do you know Spanish, Irvin?
I do. Sí,
Okay.
claro que es
Do you know,
español.
do you know how to say in English?
Espérate, ¿cómo? No entiendo esa palabra en español.
Licitación.
Oh, licitación. Okay.
Do you know that in English? I think that
don't
is
know.
a tender.
Let me double check that. But the thing, you know, it's pretty much like a bid, you know, when you have a contract, Jason, and then when you have you want to um get, you know, get a bid, like if we're like in commercial lending is, you know, the subcontractors, they have, you know, we have different proposals and then we get the best bid.
Yeah.
But licitación is more formal in for the government, when you're working with the government, and then the government wants different organizations to give them that. So you're thinking that that is tenders, but then do we want to go that route? Do we want to be
No.
involved with the government and do that
No,
kind of
what
thing?
I was
No.
what I was saying is that probably in the future, if we get
Oh.
like fits, because we can give alternatives too. Because I think that this project is to share and apply the different techniques and abilities that you can think of if you are in a foreign country. So let's say that you start in a, like Jason said, in a particular segmentation, and let's suppose that you're successful in that area. So if you're successful and if you start getting profits, you can start expanding, but with different with a different vision. Because I think that if you want to attack the lower population or the poor population in India, they have to know you. I think that it's going to be very, okay, imagine, how are you going to advertise something if they don't even have TV?
Yeah.
How are you going to advertise a solar panel if they don't even have electricity? So I think that you need to work hands-on with the government and also those institutions so they can know you and you can sell the product.
Yeah.
So
But
that's
we're
why
gonna
you
do
need,
middle class, right?
So another way of saying that is
yes, but
Who-
that's,
so another way to think about it, who's gonna be our first customers? Who's gonna be willing to pay for the
exactly.
product first? And it's not gonna be people who don't have
Middle.
money, it's gonna be the people who do have disposable
Mhm.
income. If you think
Mhm.
about 10 or 15 years ago, when Apple products first started gaining popularity, it wasn't the poor people that were necessarily buying them. It was the innovators, it was the creators, it was people who were excited and could afford that. But then that product and that technology trickled down into the rest of the masses and became more available for everybody. So for example, section 7 talks about retail strategy. So section 7.1 is we need to identify the retail strategy. 7.2 is a wholesale strategy. We need to talk about distribution channels. So we need to think about it in that terms.
Correct. Yeah.
Like if this was a,
Yes.
a real
Who's
venture
gonna-
that was meant to make a profit, how are we going to get our profit out? How are we going to get a return on our investment?
Mhm.
And then
Who's gonna do
7.3
section
is sales
7?
strategy. Neffy is.
A Neffy, okay.
Yeah.
I will.
And speaking of that, Neffy.
So yeah, I like. Uh-huh.
So I think the middle class residential segment, I think that would be a good place to start.
Yes,
Mhm.
I like that.
And for the sake of the assignment, I think that will make it a little bit easier for our research and putting the different elements together and tying them together as well.
Okay. All right. So in my section, I will have to compare the pricing plans.
Yes.
What are those pricing plans that we have? Do
So
I
would suggest-
select, or are we as a group gonna have them and then I compare? You know what I mean?
I think they.
I'm okay doing them and comparing them. Do I
So
come up with them?
yeah, you may have to do a little bit of research to see what competitors in India are selling solar panels for. And if you need some help with it, reach out to the group and we can help you do some research as well. But if you, for example,
No, I'm fine. I just
so we don't necessarily have to undercut people's prices. We just want to have an idea of where things are at. And then are we going to be competitive with our price? Are we going to be more expensive with our price, but then offer a better product? So that's the pricing plan. Do we want to have a quality, high-end, expensive product, or do we want an inexpensive, low-end product?
since it's middle class, we probably, I mean, like people will pay more. We need to, well, what I was thinking, because I've been thinking, is do give something like I consider myself middle class, and I'm always trying to get the best from my money,
Yeah.
right? The money
Yep.
that I'm giving, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's how they're gonna be thinking, right? And so so the marketing would have to say things like that like what are the things, what is the product that we are offering, so I can tell them, so I can put a price to that.
I would say that you have to take into consideration income, to take into consideration how much they spend for their liabilities. Is that correct to say it? Like for electricity.
Uh-huh.
So
Utilities and all the expenses. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so think about last week's lesson materials. We talked about segmentation. And the first one was starting out with what are the featured benefits of the product? And then it talked about the psychographic, meaning the activities of the people. So featured benefits, then
Okay.
psychographics was activities, behaviors, habits, hobbies, those types of things. And then the third was demographic.
Okay.
Demographic is age, gender, maybe like religions.
Ethnicity.
Ethnicity could be part of demographics, yes.
So, okay.
And the last was geography.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, India is split up into a
Mhm.
very varied geography. So that's one of the challenges. And I like the idea
Yes.
that because the geography between the rural and the urban areas is so diverse, that coming back to what we talked about earlier, that Nephi brought up, maybe we focus on some of the larger cities first, like New Delhi or
Yeah.
I forget some of the names. Sorry.
Okay.
So they can know us first.
Uh-huh. But then, okay, so I'm working on my section number 9 with all of those, but then I don't know what is our proposal for the product. Did we decide one? Maybe
So
I'm lost.
So that's called the positioning. So that's what we talked about at the very beginning. We may want to discuss the
Mhm.
positioning of the product. Are we, for example, 9.2 talks about, do you want a premium product or are we going to do a discount product? That's part of the positioning. Do we want to, so our company provides high-end quality commercially proven solar panels for residential use in urban areas. That could be a positioning statement for the product.
Okay, so
you want-
that's my thing. Did we already choose that
No, that's
as
what
a
we're
group?
discussing.
No.
Or that's what we're doing right now?
So that's what we're discussing right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
sadly, yeah,
Urban, make a
sadly,
decision.
we
Do
don't
you want a
have the
premium
rest.
product or do you want a discount product?
Okay, good.
And since you're writing the
Okay, good.
section,
I'm
Urban,
glad.
do you want the quality product or do you want the discount product?
I want the quality,
All
but
right.
with price, good price, of quality.
Well, yeah, and remember that price
Because
doesn't always have to be the cheapest, but if we have high
No.
quality, it's good value. Value versus price can mean different things.
Mhm.
An iPhone might cost $1,000 compared to a Motorola phone, which is $400, but people may be willing to pay $1,000 for the iPhone because they perceive it as having a greater value. Maybe it has better benefits.
And the benefit.
Yeah, maybe
The
they
durable
like it
equipment.
better, the interface is better. It has better apps that can be loaded onto it. Maybe there's brand loyalty and brand imaging that's attached to it. Maybe there's emotional attachments. And we don't have to write about all of that
Yeah.
type of stuff, but those are things to think about. That's the customer's perceived value
Mhm.
that, hey, I'm willing to pay an extra $600 for an iPhone versus a Motorola because I feel like it's a better product.
Right.
Mhm.
So, okay, perfect. So after this meeting, we will have that positioning, and then I will
Yeah.
be able to
So
do.
Yeah, you have to focus on that positioning.
So to clarify,
Yeah,
we're
because
running
all
out of
this week
time.
I'm like,
Yeah, we're running out of time. So
yeah.
Yeah.
we can always restart the session and record another session. But before we run out, it sounds like you want to go quality, right?
I do, but what about the two of you?
You're the one that has to
I
write it.
agree with
You
quality.
tell us what you want to do, and then we'll follow it
Well,
up.
but I don't want.
I agree with quality because I was researching that
Mhm.
there are many competitors about solar panel in India.
Yeah.
Right. I read that.
Quality should be our key.
And I would go that direction too.
Quality
think-
and
Looking at the reviews for the companies that do solar panels, some of the things that people valued the most was knowledgeable installation, professional installation, great customer service, and commercially proven products. So even though it's for residential use, we're using the technology that's trickled down from commercial, and now we're applying it to residential. And so nothing like affordability was on the lowest end of the spectrum. People valued quality, knowledgeable expertise, professionalism, great customer service, and proven product.
So they're picky.
yeah.
And
Well,
if residential is
if you
relatively
think
new,
about it,
go ahead, Lauren. Sorry.
no, finish your thought and then I'll.
Well, my feeling about it is that my understanding is that solar's been in India for a long time, but it's mostly been commercial, and it's a residential
Right.
is a relatively new segment. And with new products,
Mhm.
introducing that to a new segment, it's going to be the innovators, the creators. It's going to be the people that take the product and maybe even come up with their own solutions on how they want to apply it. So it's not going to be the mass stream. It's going to be the people that, for example, when it's going to be the first responders. That's the wrong way to say it. It's the
Yeah, but
people that are most excited about it. For example, when a new movie comes out and there's people waiting in line all the way around the cinema because they want to see the movie first, those are the type of people we're targeting to. The ones that are excited, they want to be
Mhm.
the first ones to do it. They're willing to pay the price for it. But then later, as the movie ages, then it's more the middle laggers and the late laggers that come around and say, well, I'm not going to wait in line, but I'll see it in maybe 2 or 3 weeks when after everybody else has saw it.
okay.
Does that make sense?
All right. Mhm.
There's a term for that. I
Less than
think it's called um, the cycle of innovation. I think is what it's called.
Okay. Do you have your own business, Jason?
Sort of.
Do you have a
Yes,
business?
I have a
I'm
business. Yeah,
Instagram, and what is your business?
I have a full-time job that I work for the government, and then I have my own
Uh-huh.
business as well. But I build small furniture and I ship it all across North America. I used to do worldwide, but then the whole
Okay.
shipping industry got screwed up or messed up. USPS became unpopular with some of the European nations and stuff, and it just became
Yeah.
too much of a headache. So now I just United States and Canada and Mexico.